Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So in this time, I will explain how to determine the solar time using Sundial method. So what should we prepare to make the Sundial clock? There is some of material that we must be prepared. First, we must have the round of paper and also a scissor, a pen, and I use stick. For the stick, I use pencil, the glue, the type, and also the important one is the round of blade to take the top. So first, we should write in here number 1 until 12, like an hour in the clock. Is 1, 2, 3, or we can divide it to be 4 and like 12, 3, 9, 6, then continuing. And we can put it using a ballpoint. After we put the mark of the time, we can put or glue the paper into the round of the blade. And then we make a hole in the center of the clock to put the stick. So after we put the stick in the center of the clock, we must put this sundial clock into under the sunlight to make the shadow. So when we put the clock in the outdoor, we must observe the length of the shadow. Like in this morning, the length of shadow is in the 7 o'clock. So after 4 hours, the shadow of the sticks will be moved into 10 o'clock. And if we wait, the shadow will going into Istiwa time or before the Zuhur time. So after a few minutes, the shadow length will be moved into Zawal time of the beginning of the Zuhur Sholat. Then we continue to observe the shadow until the end of the Zuhur time or the Daruri time, and it will be continued to the Asar time. Then we observe again until the shadow length will be 2 times from the shadow length in the Istiwa time. So it will be the end of the Asar time or continue to the Maghrib time. Or we can also observe if in the sky, if the sunset is going down or the sky is going to be orange. That's all for the tutorial to make the sundial time to determine the solar time. Sorry if I make a mistake when I explain the tutorial, but after this I will explain again through the picture. So just watch it till the end. Thank you. So In this figure, I will explain more detail how to determine the solar time using shadow or Sundial method. So, actually, there is two times to determine the time of Sholat. First, using the chart or calculating time from using your phone and determine it as the word time. But every place in the world have different sunlight from the sun, so it will be have a different time for the solar also. So maybe it's better if we can determine the solar using a Sundial method. So like in this pane, I already draw, like we know this is the sun and this is the stick over the Sundial, and some of note what we should what I want to discuss it. So as we know, the sun rise in the east and the shadow will be longer and then going to be short as when the sun is moved into the zenith. So the shadow will be shortened than before. So when the sun is rising and hit into the midday, or we call it as zenith, in Arabic we call it as Istiwa time here. And how we can know that is the Istiwa's time? So when the sun at the Istiwa's time, as I know, is when we can measure the shadow. At the first time, the shadow may be like this. So we put the rock in here, and then after minutes or 2 minutes after that, we wait, and the shadow move a little bit around here. I mean, it's just a little bit, but it's already moved. And we know that is the Istiwa time, and shadow have the same length also. So based on as already read in the Maliki Mazhab, it's explained that when the Istiwa time, we cannot pray the Zuhur Salat because it's not the time, but it's optional time to pray for the Sunnah before the Salat Wajib. So but the other mazhab say that it's not a good time to do a salat. So the next time we know is the Zawal time, or we know it as the time when the sun is moved a little bit, and if we put the rock at the zenith like before, and measure the minutes later of the shadow, that it's called as the Azan time, or
the beginning of the Zuhur time. So before the Istiwa, before the Istiwa, the shadow is getting longer, and then rising, and getting short. And when the Istiwa, the shadow will be moved a little bit with the same length and going to the Zawal time or Zuhur time. So we know the Azan or the Zuhur beginning or Ikhtiyari time is optional time. So we know in here in the notes that the Ikhtiyari time is the optional time and is a typo. It should be Daruri time is a mandatory time. So we cannot delay the Sholat until the Daruri time without the valid of the execute. So that is the time to Zuhur, means explained before. Now we continue to the Asar time. So if we put the length of the shadow at this object, the sun is going to be here and here, and the length of the shadow is getting longer. And for Abu Hanifa, say the opinion that the one time or two time the shadow length plus the Istiwa shadow. So this is shadow and getting longer in here. So this is the Istiwa. So this is the beginning of Asar. As I acknowledge, Maliki Mazhab, this time is begin of the Asar time or Ikhtiyari of the Asar time. So we can azan of the Asar in his time. And this time is Istiwa or Zuhur. Beginning of Zuhur and until here. And this is beginning of the Asar. And it will be end in here. So that's around 40 until 60 minutes before the Maghrib, or when the sun is getting yellowing, or it as a sunset. So, or we can see it is the length of the shadow is the double. I mean the same length, and this is the double time. So Asar is if we put here, it should be here. So that's why this time is the holy time for Zuhur, and this time is the Ikhtiyari time for Asar. We cannot pray Zuhur in this time, but we can doing azan for Asar, or to remind that is beginning for the Asar time. As we know, And this is the Zahuri time for the Maghrib or the end of the Asr time. So we cannot pray Asr Sholat Asar at this time. However, because we know that the length uh, of this one and this one is subjective, so some of us have had their own perspective with what time or when this time is begin and end. So maybe some of us know that the Asar time in the one region have different, maybe it begin at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock, but because yes we know maybe some of the ustad or the uh, ulama determine that the end of the zuhur is the in here, or the length of the zuhur time is only in here, and if it's double it's to be like in here and the end of Asr in here. But maybe the other of mazhab or ulama or the ustad determine that the length of the zuhur time or the sedo for the istiwa until the end of the end of the zuhur time is in this time. Maybe it's 5 o'clock and here it's 4 o'clock, and the double, and with double, so the Asar time will be getting longer. So it's going subjective, and we must get more understanding in the study from the local institution to get more understanding how to determine that time and that settle. But as I mentioned before, that the Huri time for Asar is about 40 to 60 minutes before the Maghrib, or when the sunlight is getting more yellowing or orange, as we know as the sunset. But some of the region, maybe in Africa, is closer to the sun, so it's maybe the sun will be getting slower for the sunset. But maybe in Canada there is a long time before the sunset or different time. So the time is just for estimation for determine the Sholat time, but we must have more understanding from the study in our institution or our school to get the better understanding for the mazhab. That's maybe my explanation for this. And thank you, and sorry if I have mistake for my explanation for the determining the Sholat time using the Sundial method.